Today, runway 1331 is closed. I'm approaching LaGuardia Airport from the east, and I can see a big X on runway 31, which means that LaGuardia is operating as a single runway airport using runway 422. This can lead to delays because the runway can only be used by one aircraft at a time, and there's demand for arrivals and departures. With the wind from the east, runway 4 is the departure and arrival runway, but this isn't what's going to happen by the time I take off. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm excited to share with you another great departure from LaGuardia Airport as I've got a ticket in a seat on a Delta Connection CRJ 900 operated by Endeavour Air. And I'm excited to once again be taking advantage of the new C terminal, a far cry from what the old C terminal looked like not too long ago. And since I've arrived early for my flight, I've got plenty of time to spend some time at the Delta Sky Club for some food. But the real star of this club is the view out the window. With runway 1331 closed, I wasn't expecting to see much runway action, but what made up for it was the Delta Thank You A321. While from a distance, the words thank you may look like solid red paint, it's actually made up of the names of 90,000 Delta employees. I guess you need to be really close to see it. If you know how many times I've shown that thank you aircraft on my channel, let me know in the comments section below. It's time for a quick bite here in the Delta Sky Club before I board that CRJ 900. With my full stomach, I turned back to the window, and to my surprise, I saw a plane taking off in a direction I was not expecting. There's been a runway change. Runway 13 is now the departure runway. The Port Authority has completed maintenance work on runway 13, and it's now being used for departing traffic. All I can say is thank you, because this is going to allow me to bring the Coney climb to my channel for the very first time. Now's a good time to leave the Sky Club and head over to my CRJ 900 because boarding has already started. These days, I've noticed that boarding often begins before the scheduled boarding time. I just wanted to stay in the Sky Club for the view of the thank you plane taking off, so I'm rushing over to the far eastern end of Terminal C to the gate. It's a bit of a walk, but I'll be there soon. My CRJ 900 has a quick turn here at LaGuardia. It's not on the ground for very long, and I'm ready to take it down to Jacksonville, Florida, today's destination. So let's board. JAX, here we come. The sign says keep climbing, and it's making me think of today's climb out, the Coney climb. Let's get on this CRJ 900, which has a LaGuardia-based crew today. My seat is going to be on the rear of this regional jet.
Folks on the flight deck, welcome aboard Delta Connection Flight 5153, service down to Jacksonville. About 2 hours and 4 minutes, taking up to touchdown today, cruising altitude of 34,000 feet. We got Jada and Carolyn back there, primarily for your safety. We do ask to pay attention to your safety briefings. It should be hopefully a smooth ride over there. We'll update you with some gate information as we get a little bit closer to the Jacksonville airport. Weather over there today, looks like we got calm winds, partly cloudy skies, temperature of a balmy 73 degrees. Appreciate you choosing Delta Connections. Welcome aboard.
We're ready for pushback from the gate under the guidance of ramp control. As we push back, I'm going to set you up for our departure, and I'm going to have you listen in to LaGuardia ground control as soon as we're ready to taxi. In the meantime, we're pushing back on the ramp under the guidance of the ramp controller. Our departure runway will be runway 13, and arriving flights will land on runway 22. But as we tune into the ground control frequency, Delta Flight 1157 had requested to take off on runway 4, which is in the opposite direction of the landing runway. In order for this to happen, the approach controller needs to create a gap in arrivals to let Delta 1157 take off. Here, the controller is telling the pilot to go on the other side of runway 4 to allow arrivals to runway 22 to clear the runway to the left. There, the pilot can wait.
Delta 1157, cross runway 22 at Golf, turn left, double alpha.
All right, we are cleared to cross 22 on Golf, and then it's left and double alpha, Delta 1157.
Delta 1157's departure off of runway 4 is going to happen. Here's the controller saying that a gap in runway 22 arrivals will be made for him.
Delta 1157, looks like they're going to make a gap for you. It's runway 4 taxi double alpha, full length.
Full length, runway 4. Any idea on the time? We got 1 down right now.
Probably about, 8 minutes or so.
Perfect, we'll start her up.
Now it's our time to taxi. We will be using runway 13, and we're about to call ground control with the call sign Endeavor 5153. We'll call the ground controller, and we'll get taxi instructions to runway 13, but we'll need to hold short of runway 22 on taxiway Papa, a taxiway near the beginning of runway 22, which allows runway 22 arrivals to clear the runway to the left or right further down the runway.
Afternoon ground air 5153, approaching 17 Alpha, taxi hotel.
Endeavor 5153, LaGuardia ground, runway 13, taxi of Victor Bravo Papa, hold short of runway 22.
Victor Bravo Papa, short of runway 22, 5153.
LaGuardia Ground Control has given us taxi instructions all the way to the point where we need to hold short of runway 22. That's good and should get us to the runway quickly. The ground controller is about to tell an aircraft ahead of us, Delta Flight 1635 to Miami, that he needs a new taxi route due to traffic over White intersection. He says that he needs to be bumped back for spacing. That means that there's a lot of traffic going over White.
Delta 1635, have to bump you back a little bit for spacing over White. Continue Bravo Golf, hold short of runway 22.
Okay, Bravo, Golf, short 22, Delta 1635.
White is a fix in the sky over Ocean County, New Jersey, and is used for flights headed to the south. Our destination, Jacksonville, is also to the south, and we too will be flying over White. So just hearing this transmission tells me that we're going to take a ground delay, since another aircraft ahead of us will be delayed to White. The controller is now talking to other aircraft, but based upon what we just heard to Delta 1635, it's inevitable that we will get delayed. Even though we push back on time, we'll have to take a delay due to air traffic. Here's our new taxi instruction.
And Endeavor 5153, have spacing over White, continue Bravo Golf, hold short of runway 22.
Bravo Golf, short of 22, 5153.
Our new taxi route really doesn't change that much from the initial instructions, so we won't be experiencing the delay right away. We were previously told to hold short of runway 22 on taxiway Papa, and now we're told to hold short of runway 22 on taxiway Golf. The two taxiways are right next to each other and both lead to the other side of runway 22 so we can get to runway 13. However, taxiway Golf will allow the controller to place us in a staging area on the other side of runway 22 that will allow us to wait our turn once the White intersection can accept our departure. If we were to cross runway 22 on taxiway Papa, as originally told, we'd be able to proceed directly to the beginning of runway 13 to take off, but our flight, as well as the Delta flight, will be crossing runway 22 on taxiway Golf, keeping the path of taxiway Papa open for flights that aren't taking any ground delays. Those flights will be able to take off quickly, but unfortunately for us, White is where we need to go, and not only do flights from LaGuardia utilize White, but so do flights from other New York City area airports. It seems that a lot of people want to head down south today.
Ground, good day, Brickyard 40, spot 6, short of ground, need a taxi.
Brickyard 4540, LaGuardia ground, runway 13, taxi Alpha, and hold short of Golf.
Alpha, short of Golf to 13, Brickyard 4540.
Brickyard 4540 is a Republic Airlines flight operating for American Airlines. This aircraft has been told to taxi via taxiway Alpha and hold short of Golf. This aircraft will be coming out of Terminal B, and in a few moments, as we continue along, we'll be able to see this aircraft coming out of the ramp. The tower told this aircraft to hold short of taxiway Golf because we'll be on taxiway Golf. Remember, that's the taxiway that we'll be using to cross runway 22. In a few moments, the air traffic controller is going to tell the Delta aircraft that was ahead of us to cross runway 22. Then, the Brickyard flight, which we're about to see right now taxiing out of the ramp, will be told to continue along onto taxiway Golf and hold short of runway 22. Then, we'll be told to cross runway 22 behind Delta. There's a lot going on here.
Delta 1635, traffic 6 mile final, cross 22 at Golf, turn left double Alpha.
Cross 22 at Golf, left double Alpha, Delta 1635.
Brickyard 4540, continue Alpha, Golf, hold short of runway 22.
Alpha Golf, short of 22, Brickyard 4540.
Endeavor 5153, traffic on a 5 mile final, cross 22 at Golf, turn left double Alpha.
Cross 22 at Golf, and then double Alpha, 5153.
We're told to cross runway 422 and turn left on double Alpha, and that's directly behind the Delta flight that's also going to White. We're both going to head towards the same holding area. When the controller told Delta to cross runway 422, he said that traffic was on a 6-mile final, and when he spoke to us, he said that traffic was on a 5-mile final. This is the same aircraft that has progressed 1 mile to runway 22. The controller is trying to get 2 aircraft across runway 422 at the same time before that plane lands, and there's plenty of space to do so. We will, of course, have to cross runway 22 again once we're on our departure roll, but that won't happen for a while because we have to proceed to a holding area first. Do you remember Delta Flight 1157 that requested runway 4 for takeoff? Well, if you look very carefully down runway 22 and off to the right, you can see that aircraft there waiting for a gap in arrivals to take off. This is very difficult for the controller. We can now see the Delta aircraft in front of us that's going down to Miami and using the same intersection as us, White. We'll be doing what he's doing. Once we cross the runway and turn left onto Double Alpha, the controller gives us some more instructions, which are actually the same instructions that the Delta plane ahead of us was told.
Endeavour 5153, continue Echo Charlie Charlie, hold short of Golf.
Echo Charlie Charlie, short of Golf, Endeavour 5153.
So on taxiway Alpha Alpha, we'll turn right on taxiway Echo, then turn right on Charlie Charlie, and hold short of Golf. Remember that we had just crossed runway 22 on taxiway Golf, so what this does is bring us around in a circle to another entry point to taxiway Golf near the beginning of runway 13. We're headed southwest now, but in a moment you'll see we'll be making a right turn. This is going to be a series of right turns actually, and it's prescribed by the ground controller to get to the holding point behind the Delta plane near runway 13. In the meantime, aircraft that aren't going to White can cross runway 22 and head right to the beginning of runway 13. Once the Delta plane in front of us stops, we'll come to a complete stop too and just wait for the next clearance. It's no secret that LaGuardia Airport has very limited real estate, but this side of runway 22 has some extra space, and the good news is that the only airline terminal on this side, the Marine Air Terminal, has very light traffic, so there aren't many issues with aircraft pulling into and out of the ramp. And the Marine Air Terminal is on the other side of this area, so there's some good distance. This part of the airport is also home to the FBO, or Fixed Based Operator, Modern Aviation. However, general aviation at LaGuardia is very light, so there are rarely any conflicts with any general aviation flights, even though we're physically very close to their parking zone. As a matter of fact, at this time, there are no general aviation aircraft at all on the field. There are actually several parallel taxiways that we can hold on here, so when runway 13 is in use and departure fixes are taking delays, there's actually a good amount of room for us to wait. It's not the same with the other runways at LaGuardia, however. The controllers have to work every available inch of pavement here very carefully. Our unique situation defies the first-come, first-served basis of departing flights, and the pavement below us gives us the opportunity to wait without affecting flights that are not taking delays. This surely is an interesting airport when it comes to ground operations. Remember that we're still following that Delta plane headed to Miami. We're now headed back towards runway 13, and as soon as that Delta plane comes to a stop because he was asked to wait, we'll have to come to a stop and wait too. At this point, we don't know how long the delay will be, but just in case, the captain has asked the flight attendants to take their seats for takeoff. We're actually all set to take off, but the airspace just cannot accept us. Of course, that Delta plane needs to go first, and who knows if there are flights out of Newark or Westchester County Airport that are also headed to White. Complex, high-demand airspace is leading to our pause on the ground here. Okay, I'm not going to make you listen to that clock ticking sound, but that's what it's like when you're not in the know and you're just sitting there waiting. It's always better when you're in the know because the pilot never came on the radio to explain why we didn't take off right away. We left the terminal on time and it was very efficient. The taxi was quick, but the hold time is adding minutes to our total gate-to-gate time. This is the reality of limited departure fixes in the New York City area. Have you been in situations like this at LaGuardia Airport? If so, let me know in the comments section below. The controller is now going to release the Delta plane in front of us and tell us that we need to wait 7 minutes after that plane takes off.
Delta 1635, turn left Golf behind the American 170, you're currently number 4, monitor target A.
Okay, Golf behind the 170 and tower, Delta 1635.
Endeavour 5153 for your planning, you'll be 7 minutes behind the Airbus ahead.
Alright, we'll be 7 minutes behind the Airbus ahead for Endeavour 5153, we'll stay with you.
Once that Delta plane moves up, we can inch up a little more, but we still have to hold short of taxiway Golf. In the cockpit, the pilot can see other planes pass in front of our plane from right to left as they taxi directly in front of us without holding to runway 13. There's nothing to do now but wait and wait and wait. In the meantime, the ground controller works other traffic that's moving with no delay on the ground, and remember when I started the ATC audio earlier? That Delta jet that requested to take off from runway 4 is being squeezed into a lull of arrivals onto runway 22. There's a lot going on at this airport, and the view out of our window does not justify it at all. I'll speed up this part because we're just waiting, but eventually the controller comes back to us because White can now accept us and we can move.
Endeavour 5153, you'll be next to go, turn left Golf, monitor tower, yeah.
Left Golf over to tower, Endeavour 5153, we'll see you.
With no one in front of us and sufficient time having passed to allow separation over white, we're going to go next, and we can turn left in taxiway Golf and switch to the tower frequency. This will be the last delay that we'll take for our entire flight. As we switch to the tower frequency, we simply wait for the tower controller to tell us to line up and wait on runway 13 as we get closer to the runway.
Endeavor 5153, line up only 13, Delta plane 22.
Line up away, runway 13, Endeavor 5153.
We're now cleared onto runway 13, and the tower did say that traffic will land on runway 22, so we'll have to wait for the runway 22 arriving traffic to land, but that's actually happening right now. There's another plane 2.25 miles out, so the tower will issue us takeoff clearance before that plane lands. It's takeoff time, and we're more than ready.
Endeavor 5153, traffic 2 1/4 out, wing com 13, clear for takeoff.
13, clear for takeoff, Endeavor 5153.
With the runway and intersection ahead of us clear, we can begin our takeoff roll on the 7,000-foot-long runway 13. We're going to fly the Coney climb on takeoff today, and that means that as soon as we're airborne, we'll need to turn right from our takeoff heading of 135 degrees to a heading of 180 degrees, or south. This will place us directly over Flushing Meadows Corona Park, which means we'll be flying over a less populated area, thus reducing noise to citizens. While on the 180-degree heading, we need to intercept the 43-degree radial from the Canarsie VOR, a navigational aid in Brooklyn. Then, while over Canarsie, we'll fly heading 223. I'll talk more about that later when we're in the climb out, but for now, the tower controller at LaGuardia needs to hand us off to the radar room controller at the New York TradeCon.
Sierra 5153, contact departure 20.4 today.
20.4, we'll see you there, 5153.
We're in the right turn to south over Flushing Bay now, and we're going to check in with New York Departure Control.
Departure there, 5153 is 1.1, climbing 5,000 on the right turn, heading 180.
5153, ready to contact. I maintain 10,000.
I maintain 10,000 there, 5153.
And that's it for instructions. We're just told to climb to 10,000 feet. As we view northern Queens while over Flushing Meadows Corona Park, we fly heading 180 and wait until we come across the 43-degree radial from Canarsie. Between Canarsie, New York and Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn is the Canarsie Navigational Aid, called a VOR, which emits a signal in 360 degrees. Once we get to the 43-degree radial of the signal, we will follow it directly to the Canarsie VOR. Once over the Canarsie VOR, we will fly a 223-degree heading. What's great about this climb for us is that the southwest heading of 223 degrees points us nearly directly toward our initial departure fix of white. It's not always that a departure to white gets assigned the Coney climb. Quite often, a departure to white will get assigned the Whitestone climb off of runway 13, which requires a left turn to the north after flying over Flushing Meadows Corona Park. This is away from white and adds more time as we would have to circle LaGuardia to its north. Check out my video of the Whitestone climb posted on March 5th, 2023 to see what I mean. We're actually approaching the limit of the first departure controller's airspace, so he's going to hand us off to the second departure controller.
Sierra 5153, contact departure 124.75, good day.
Departure on 2475 there, 5153. We'll see you.
New York's airspace is so busy that there's a need for a second departure controller. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio for the second controller, but we're continuing along. We're about to intercept the 43-degree radial of the Canarsie VOR, so we're turning right to proceed towards the VOR. As we make the right-hand turn, Kennedy Airport comes into view, and we get a good look down runway 13 left and 13 right. When Kennedy departures take off in the direction towards us on the 3-1s, they actually turn left towards Canarsie VOR, so both LaGuardia and Kennedy departures use the same navigational aid on the ground towards the southwest, but there's no conflict because LaGuardia departures are at a higher altitude than the Kennedy departures. Depending on the route that the JFK departures fly after the Canarsie VOR, they either fly what's called the Canarsie climb or the Breezy Point climb. Just south of JFK Airport is Jamaica Bay, and it almost feels like our flight departed from JFK instead of LaGuardia. Today, Kennedy Airport is using runway 4 left for departing flights and runway 4 right for arriving flights, and I'm always on the lookout to see operations of this large airport from this high altitude. There's so much action to see from up here, and I'm taking advantage of it now because most of the en route phase of flight will be in the clouds. We're approximately over the Canarsie VOR now, and we fly outbound from it on a 225-degree heading. This completes the Coney climb. So why is it called the Coney climb? Well, we will pass by Coney Island, but on the other side of the airplane, along with a view of Brooklyn and Manhattan. I'll have to wait for the next time I fly this climb, and I'm seated on the right. That's a great view, but for now, I'm so focused on capturing arrivals to JFK's runway 4 right. These flights are flying on the opposite direction that we're flying in and are lined up with the runway after having approached the New York City area from either the south, east, or the west, where they'd actually have to fly over departing flights from LaGuardia like this before descending for the final approach. What busy airspace. As we continue to fly southwestbound, we briefly fly over a portion of the Atlantic Ocean just south of the south shore of Long Island before we fly into New Jersey.
Remember that if you're not subscribed to my channel, you're missing out on one of the most interesting and inspiring aviation channels out there, so consider subscribing so you don't miss my next video.
While in the clouds, the second New York departure controller clears us to White, only of course after that Delta flight going to Miami gets clearance to do so. White is located in Ocean County, New Jersey, specifically over Pine Lake Park. While over White, we proceed on course under the guidance of Air Route Traffic Control Centers, or ARTCCs. We'll talk to high-altitude ARTCC controllers in New York, Washington, and Jacksonville. Back in the main cabin on this Delta Connection flight operated by Endeavor Air, snacks were served. I opted for sun chips and water. This is a popular flight corridor with lots of north-south traffic. There are so many cities and routes on the eastern seaboard. Our flight path today roughly follows the east coast. I couldn't see much until we were further south. This is Tybee Island, just east of Savannah, Georgia. It's known for its sandy beaches that are very wide. Shortly after this, we began our descent to Jacksonville via the Lunny 1 arrival, an RNAV arrival procedure to Jax. As we descend lower, we get our first view of Florida, specifically of Fort Clinch State Park on Amelia Island. Well, thanks so much for watching this video about LaGuardia Airport's Coney climb. I hope you enjoyed it, and I invite you to subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. My channel focuses on an undiscovered side of aviation by the average airline passenger, and I'll have more videos like this for you soon. Thanks everybody, and see you in the air.